You are watching 32 teams in 32 days on the Game Time Sports Network. It's a great day, sports world. What's up to all the sports lovers, the haters, the addicts, and the fanatics? This is Larry Patterson for GT365. That's Game Time 365 Sports right here on the GTSN. That's the Game Time Sports Network. Here with my man Amon as usual. A-Dub, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Another day to be on this earth and one step closer to the regular season. So I'm doing great, man.
And down on the screen below, we got what I would say is he's been a mentor to me since stepping into this sports media thing. Mr. Rollback showed me a lot of things, man, and I'm very grateful to call him a friend. Very grateful that you could be able to grace our presence on the show. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And we appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Darrell Lee Owens of the LegacyMaker, co-founder of the LegacyMaker Sports Network. Mr. Darrell Lee Owens, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. I'm excited. You know, I'm always about talking Packer football. I mean, if I look a little bit to I'm always down for it. So, I'm ready to see how the season's gonna go. I'm excited.
So it is Packer Day. And we're gonna run it back to talk about last season. And I got my graphic right there. We're gonna run it back real quick. So this team last year went 11-6 to finish the season, and lost in the first round. Lost in the wild card round to the Eagles. Devastating loss. But kind of give you some hope going into this season. Now, you guys were ranked 5th overall in offense and 5th overall in defense. And on the passing side of things, on the offensive side, 12th. In the rushing game, 5th. Defensively, 13th in the pass, 7th against the run. Jordan Love missed what he played the first game, and he got injured. He had the MCL sprain. And missed those 2 games. Malik Willis came in and took care of business while he was there. And then after that, you went on you lost to Minnesota. You went on a 4-game win streak. You lost to Detroit. Went on a 3-game winning streak. And then you lose to Detroit again, and then you win 2 in a row before closing the last season with 2 losses. How did last season, as you as a fan, how did last season go for you?
Not exactly the way I would have wanted it to go. Now, if you look back, and they improved. I mean, if you look 2 years ago, they were 9-8. And they won a playoff game. So you could say a little bit of a step back because they lost a playoff game this year. But, to go back-to-back playoffs under the Jordan Love regime and trying to change things, trying to see how this, version of the Packers is going to look and trying to rebuild this. There is parts of me that says, okay, I'm okay with what I'm seeing. But if you deep dive into it, there's a couple of different disappointing things. First game against Philly should have been a win. And I'm not just saying that as a fan. If you go back and look at this game, they dominated early. They kind of held Philly on the check, and then slowly but surely they let Philly do Philly things. Saquon Barkley was being Saquon Barkley with his 2 touchdowns in that contest. And so it's those things in that first game I felt like, man, okay, you a missed opportunity in that contest. It was just a big missed opportunity. And that's what that year was in their losses. Like you said, Malik Willis came in, did some really good stuff. Love what Malik did in those first 2 games. And I hate to even say this, but they looked like a better team in those 2 games with Malik, only because we knew Jordan Love was hurt. And there was times it felt like Jordan Love was doing too much. Like if you watch him, like he was throwing way more interceptions than he did the year before. And it felt like he was pressing, almost like he was trying to keep his job. Look, you're not losing your job, my guy. They spent all that money on you. You're not losing your job. So But yeah, looking at that, that's kind of how it was. I mean, they overachieved but underachieved at the same time because yes, they won more games, but the games that they lost were all to the top ranked teams in twice, including the playoffs. They lost twice to Minnesota. They lost twice to
Detroit.
to the Lions.
Yeah,
So
1-5 in the division.
right. So how many teams are go 11-6 and then go 1-5? You got to win your division games, and that's not something the Packers are used to. Like the Packers are usually solid in the division. So if you take care of some of those division games, heck, if you split the division games, we're talking about a whole different dream. But they lost these games in ugly fashion. The Lions game, the first one, they just didn't come to play. The second Lions game, they had a shot, couldn't pull it off. Both Minnesota games, terrible start. First half, terrible start. Second half, in both games, almost came back and pulled it off. But you can't play that way, especially not in the division. And then losing to Chicago in general is just stupid. Like that should never happen. Hadn't lost to Chicago since 2016. So you lose to Chicago team, you're like, okay, buddy, what are we doing here? But overall, I'll take last year that it's overachieve, underachieve. Like there's so many opportunities for this team to have been a lot better than what we saw. And I will attribute a little bit of that to the injuries. Especially like Jordan injury, they just never recovered properly. Even though they had some glimpses, they just never recovered properly, in my opinion.
Moving on, we talked about Jordan Love and the quarterback position. How big was Josh Jacobs coming on? We got a Josh Jacobs, former Raider, a Raider fan sitting right here.
He knows.
1,329 yards and 15 touchdowns. I think that was a career high for him as far as rushing touchdowns. He ran for 4.4 per. How big was the acquisition of Josh Jacobs to this run game?
Massive. It was absolutely massive. I mean, look, there was a glimpse of hope at one point where I thought, man, we about to have Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs. We about to kill folks. That was the thought until they decided not to give my boy just a couple more $1 million. But I'll let that one fly as well. Josh Jacobs was everything for this Packers team last year. It was so good to see him come in and really dominate early and set a tone and a standard for him and this Packers running game for the next couple of years. He was vital. He was so vital. He had so many big runs, so many big plays. And I can't sit here and act like I wasn't ecstatic to have him. And I still think that, with this year coming up, there's a lot more expectation, but I need him to have that number two that can kind of hold the load off on him a little bit. Cause the 1,300 yards are great first statement, but I don't need that from you every year. Personally, this is me personally. He may want that every year, but we know that Josh has had injuries in the past. And I don't want him to get nicked up again. I need them to have a good balance. So hopefully when Marshawn Lloyd finally gets going, because a lot of people had high expectations of Lloyd coming into the draft last year, but he was nicked up. So if they can get him going along with Wilson, I really do feel good about what it could be this year. But, man, he was so huge for us last year, just massive.
I'm gonna ask a Raider fan. How did you feel? How did you feel with Josh Jacobs running in that green and yellow?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm probably a little different from most Raiders fans. They were probably hurt that he was leaving, especially when my side of the field, there was only a couple $1 million they were, fighting over.
Right.
I think they offered 3 for like maybe 30, something like that. And I think Green Bay upped the ante a little more to about maybe 12. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's correct. It's correct.
That they upped the ante a little more. And, running backs, in the league, they have a short shelf life. So you got to get your money while you can. So from a fan perspective, I was upset because he was like the glue guy. He came in 2019 with Cleveland Farrell, Jonathan Abram. He was the core of something that was building with, Gruden 2.0. Mm-hmm. But, as the business person as well, I'm understanding, hey, NFL stands not for long for a reason. So go out, get your check, get paid, take care of your family. And just go be great. So when I seen him come out, I forgot what game it was I watched, and he had that helmet on. It was little.
It's tough.
It was tough.
Tough.
It was tough for sure, but I also understood, his background coming from where he coming from, out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. His family having multiple brothers and sisters, kids. That he deserved he deserved his coin. He deserved his money. But I will say, being a Raiders fan all my life, he's going to give you everything he has. He's going to run hard for you. He don't want to come out the game. He's physical, as you can see with some of the Raider highlights and some of the Packer highlights, from last year. He's a physical runner. One thing you did say, I do agree with, you got to keep him on the field.
Yeah.
Past couple of years in his Raiders uniform, he was missing games towards the end of the year. Granted, we were in no kind of playoff contention or whatever the case may be, but, he would miss something here with his ankle or something. It was always something that would keep him out of the lineup. So that was one of the big things that I was looking for last year going into Green Bay. I knew injuries was going to be a problem. I just didn't want it to be this fast his first season in Green Bay. It's unfortunate, because he can run you to some wins alone by himself. I've seen him do that. I've seen him do that. Yeah, man, he's he's a very, very underrated receiver out the backfield. I don't think he get a lot of credit for that part of his game, but he's more than capable of receiving, getting you 400 or 500 yards receiving a year. So, overall, I'm happy for Josh Jacobs. I hate to see him in that Green Bay, that G on the side of the helmet. But once a Raider, always a Raider. I'm gonna cheer for him, whether he's playing for us or he's playing for whoever now going forward. So
yeah, Amon, I'll add on to that. That's how I felt when Devontae and Jordy were over there. Hurt my heart. And even though Charles Woodson went back, even though Charles Woodson with y'all first, but when he went back, I was like, oh, Charles, no, come on, stay where you need to be, baby. But and that's the thing. The Raiders and the Packers always have
we always do business with each other.
Just interchanging stars, just interchanging stars. So it's cool, believe me, it hurt. I was so happy to see Devontae do his thing, man. But that didn't hurt my heart when he left. I said, man, that's not what I want.
Yeah, when I seen that trade go down, like that year, was it 2022, 2023? Maybe 2022. Help me if I'm wrong. I know Dave Ziegler came over from New England, and I think we had pick 22 that year, and that's the year y'all took Devontae Wyatt from Georgia. That was our first round pick, and I was like, well, he wants to come in and make an impact on his roster and franchise. What is he going to do? And so one local writer for Vegas, I won't say it's Vic Tafer or Tashawn Reed, they were sneaking around, was like, hey, he's going to come in, he's going to shop for a big receiver. And I'm like, whatever. So then I seen my ticker go off when I seen the Vegas had traded their first and second round pick for Devontae. And I was like, whoa. I
was mad. I didn't think we got enough. I personally, I was like, they should have added Hunter Renfrow in there too, because I was a big Renfrow fan, and just seeing him not in the league at this current time, or not, with anybody. I think he may have signed, but I'm not sure.
Carolina.
And I've been a big Renfrow fan, and I think in the right situation he could have been great, and that's why I wanted him bad. I was like, why did they add Renfrow on that? And I know Darren Waller at one point said that they had talked about putting him in the package, but in hindsight, I still would have wanted Renfrow. I wanted a receiver for that, so that's just me.
Going to the receiving side of the ball, now you got all different type of receivers over there. You got Jaden Reed, who's been leading the team in receiving for the past couple of years. He had 857, 6 touchdowns. Romeo Doubs going into his 4th year. This is a big year for him. He missed a couple games last year.
Yeah.
And then something else happened where he
was on his TO. Just give me the ball, man. Like if y'all give me the ball, man.
My man was hot.
He was tight.
So Romeo Doubs 46 with 601 and 4 touchdowns. This is a big year for him. Dontavian Wicks 39 catches for the last 2 seasons. This year he's got to get 40. He's got to catch that 40. I don't know how that's going to be when you drafted your first round wide receiver. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Tucker Craft Tucker Kraft was a big part
Tuck.
of the offense. 707 and 7 touchdowns. I believe he made the Pro Bowl. When Luke Musgrave was the first tight end selected in that draft a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The emergence of Tucker Kraft. How do you feel about that?
I love it. And here's the thing about that. You know, Kraft came in late and did some really good things after Musgrave got hurt. And Musgrave was doing some really good stuff before he kind of got nicked up. The one thing is, you know, and kudos to Kraft for now, he's taken over that number 1 slot and a Pro Bowl, a well-deserved Pro Bowl. I was very excited about what he was becoming last year. And a lot of people think that he has like George Kittle type, you know, potential. And he showed it. Like he really made some big plays last year for Jordan Love. He was kind of that security blanket. But the kicker with all this is Musgrave is healthy now. And so now you're going to have both of them. And I really think Musgrave I'm not going to say Kraft will take a step back this year, but I think Musgrave will have a better year and may surprise, you know, may re-surprise some people here in year 3. But I'm very excited about our tight end room. I was a person that was very against. I'm like, yeah, you drafted 2 tight ends. Where's the vet that can help show him along? I was so upset when they got rid of my boy, Mercedes Lewis, you know, OG. Like Mercedes Lewis sitting in Chicago doing nothing. He could have been in Green Bay nurturing these young guys, you know. I was a little bit upset about that. But looking at it now, you know, Gutekunst's like philosophy is he wants the young guys to go out there and play. He wants them to kind of grow together as a group. That's why you don't see the Packers going after a lot of vets, which is irking my nerves. You don't see them go out a lot of vets. They're the youngest team in football. And I'm pretty sure they're still the youngest team in football. But for the youngest team in football to make the playoffs 2 years in a row, you know you got something there. What do you do to take it over the top? But yeah, I love Kraft, man. Kraft's one of those guys, and I'm like, he's a Packer. He exudes what I feel like a Packer should be all the way through. And I think him and Musgrave together this year could be really good for the Packers. Really good.
Yeah, I think that you got potential to be probably one of the best offenses in the league. You were 5th last year, and 5th in as far as I want to say top 5, top 7 in EPA per play. So pretty damn good. The defensive side of the ball, which you were pretty good on as well. Quay Walker led the team in tackles, total tackles with 102. He's going into a contract year. He's been hurt for the past since he's been in. I don't think he's played 17 total games. And Green Bay declined his 5th-year option this past offseason, was just earlier this year. How big is this season for Quay Walker?
And I know I've said it once, but massive. And I say that because Quay's done some really good things while he's been in Green Bay, but he's also done some like remember that time he ran off the field pouting and they made fun of him on Monday Night Football? I was hot. I'm like, bro, you can't do that. You can't do that, Quay. You can't do that. You're making us look bad, my guy. But he has played well for the most part. The problem is he played out of position last year, and I'm not trying to plug my show, but on Green and Gold Over Everything with my guys, we were talking about it, and I'm just like, you know, if you watch how you just kind of watch how he plays, like they just had him out of position. You know, they had him playing like middle linebacker and stuff like that, and he's not that. He's a guy that got to come off the edge, and they just didn't have him doing that. And he still had a solid year. They almost kind of like Clay Matthews him. Remember when that year Clay Matthews was playing middle linebacker? He hated it, but he still had a really good year in the process. It's kind of the same thing with Quay. And the Packers are being very careful with their money right now because they're about to have a slew. I think next offseason, the money is there. They got a lot of money they can spend. And if they want to go crazy, they can. I don't know if they will because they're very conservative when it comes to that. Believe me, they're very conservative when they come to that. So I'm intrigued to see. They want to see if he can do it. And I don't think they want to reward him until they know, okay, this guy's going to be the cornerstone, one of the cornerstones of our defense. So I have no problem with them making him earn that next contract. Because if it doesn't work out, you know, I'm pretty sure the Packers will find a way to retool there.
Xavier McKinney came over from New York and just became just this outstanding ball hawk. 8 interceptions. He led the league with 8 interceptions, and coming over from New York. And you got to look at him as like going into this year, big piece. He tore it up last year. Going into this year, he's got to tear it up even more. Matter of fact, the NFC North has got like a talent. All 4 teams got like a talented group of safeties.
Yeah.
If you look at so even the pass rush with Sean Gary 7.5 sacks, Devontae Wyatt 5, Kingsley Enigbare with 4.5, Brenton Cox with 4. This team had 45 sacks as a whole team last year. Do you think the pass rush gets better coming into this year?
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. Look, there's a couple guys on this team that I think could shine. There's 2. Isaiah McDuffie had some good moments last year for the Packers, coming in and doing some good things for them. And, if you really look at the defense, it's a no-name, I don't say no-name defense, but you really don't know a lot of the people, especially with Jair Alexander, no longer in town and in Baltimore. You may not know a lot of the names on this defense, but they do play hard for their coordinator. And I think switching from the 3-4 to the 4-3 was the best. I've been waiting years. I mean, I'm talking about probably 20 years for them to switch. I don't know why, different regimes, and they still kept that Darrell 3-4. I'm so glad that they switched over to the 4-3 because it did make a difference last year for this team. So I'm excited. Now, the one thing that I'm excited about, and I think he's an underrated signing, and that's Isaiah Simmons. Bringing in Simmons, and I think he can have his career revitalized. I will make sure I said that right. But I think he can, because it reminds me of the situation when the Packers signed, what's my boy name? Devondre Cameron. And he came in from Arizona, and, people really didn't. He was like kind of a journeyman and then all this stuff. Isaiah Simmons was a top 8 pick that they got for the cheap. And I think in the right situation, he could really flourish. And I'm hoping that this is the place that helps him take that next leap. I'm excited about what he can bring. I really hope that it's something like, whoa, man, look what he did. So that's what I'm hoping for from it. But they've got a lot of young talent. Teron Hopper is another young man who they had in special teams a little bit last year, but he played some good, had some good roles last year on the team. So I am very optimistic about the defense. Like I said, there's not a lot of big names on there other than McKinney and maybe my man Kenny Clark. Gary, has had some good moments here and there. I feel like he could probably do more, but they gave him the money, and I think he could do a little more. So I'm excited, but I'm really, really, really excited about Simmons. I think Simmons could have a good year for the Packers. Really do.
Yeah. One guy, for me, like you said, if the Packers defense is like you said, it's a no-name defense, but there's a couple guys on the defense that, like Isaiah Simmons, Xavier McKinney. You had Jair, he was in and out the lineup last year with injuries. But the guy for me, and I want to hear what you got to say, because I had high hopes for Lucas Van Ness when he came out a couple years ago. I know he was a back half of the first round, pick for Green Bay, and he kind of he reminded me of a player. I can't think of the name right now. That was a couple drafts ago, but I had high hopes with Van Ness. So what do you feel, or what do you expect coming from Lucas Van Ness? Can he take that next step going into this year? Can he be a 9-10 sack guy to help that defensive line? Like, what's your thoughts on Lucas Van Ness?
And Van Ness is one of those guys that I think he's shown flashes, but it has never materialized into what I think they've wanted from him so far. He almost has to this year. I mean, I feel like this is one of those years that, you're going into year 3, and if you don't show that at least, because even Gary, I think it took Gary about year 3 before he started really. It's like, okay, we got something here in Gary. Van Ness has got to do the same thing this year. And, the Packers have been drafting a lot on like potential. Like they can see it and they think they can bring it out of him. That's, Gary was not a very high rated player, but he didn't have the numbers, coming out of Michigan. Like he was a top rated player going into college. He didn't have the numbers that year, but he still drafted him high. And it eventually did work out to an extent. And I think they were hoping for the same thing for Van Ness. I think he could be really good. I really do. But this has got to be the year for him that he makes that leap. He can't afford to go into year 4 still trying to find himself or take that next step. especially, you know, on a team that is teetering on if they could be great or not.
Right.
And especially if they start spending money next year, they're going to be like, look, you know, we'll keep you on another year, great, but we got to start looking into trying to make a Super Bowl push here. And they're young enough to you know, to try to give it one more like trial run this year, but by next year, you can't do that. So I hope Van Ness is looking ahead and saying, hey, this is my year to shine. This is my time to shine. So that's what I'm hoping for on Van Ness this year.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah, I agree with you on Van Ness, because when Rashawn Gary come out, he was like the number one player in the country for Michigan, and he had big hype around him. You know what I mean? And when it's time for him to come out, he went maybe, I want to say it was top 10, maybe 7, 8, 9. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe 12.
12. He was 12.
Yeah. So and I was, me, I'm a big Michigan fan, by the way. So, all my guys go to the league. I hope they ball out.
Right.
Yeah. So I seen flashes of Gary. He was a big projection, at Michigan. And you seen flashes of it in Michigan. Like, well, is this going to translate? And like you said, the first year of rookie season, you got it. Of course, you're getting used to the league. You working with other grown men and got to feed their families. You don't know what to expect. You're just going to get in where you fit in. Year 2, he started, okay, all right, when is the clock going to turn on? And like by year 3, the light bulb went off, and then I think he got rewarded with the contract, if I'm not mistaken.
He did get a little pay. He did get a little pay.
So that's what, I'm hoping for Van Ness, for you guys' sake, because I Van Ness, he wasn't the top rated guy coming from Iowa. Iowa, they got tough kids, in the trenches on the offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball, especially on the line. So I was hoping that he would be blossom or flourish by then. But like you said, it's going into year 3, year 4. The light going to come on, and you guys are going to have money to spend next year. So if it's going to come on, this is the year for it to come on. If not, you're going to be looking for another job or somewhere else in 2026 for sure.
Yeah, this has got to be the year for him. I got faith in him, though.
Yeah, Darrell, you guys were talking about Lucas Van Ness, 7 sacks over the past 2 seasons, and definitely looking for him to step up this year. Let's go to off-season moves and draft picks. So, Darrell, you touched on Isaiah Simmons, which I think is going to be a very key addition. Former top 10 pick. You also pick up Nate Hobbs, who's a dog. You know about him, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, don't do my man like that, Larry. Don't do a man like that. Come on now.
I know a little bit.
It's already tough as it is. Look, we did give him Stokes. That's if Stokes can stay healthy though. But we're gonna hope for the best for the Georgia man. So,
Miko Hardman, you add to this wide receiver group. Where do you think he fits in here?
Kick returner. But my whole thing was this. And I guess I shouldn't be mad, because the only thing I asked for in the offseason was I wanted a veteran tight end. I mean, not veteran tight end. I wanted a veteran receiver to go along with these young guys. Too many drops last year. Too many drops for this. Like 2 years ago, we're talking about a team that's like, okay, they were complaining like, who's your number one receiver? And we saw how talented this receiving core was in that year when they beat Dallas. And I'm like, okay, we got something to work with going into year 2. And then just too many drops. Man, I think that, Keyshawn Nixon has been the kick returner. He's been an all-pro at that, but he doesn't want to do that anymore. And he kind of vocalized that to the team that he wanted to focus more on the defensive side. So this Hardiman move is more of a, hey, we got somebody who can come in as a veteran that can, return kicks, but also be a presence in the locker room, and then you don't have to spend a lot of money on it. Even though there's Amari Cooper out there, even though there's a Keenan Allen out there, I'm just salivating like, come on, guys, you can go grab one if you want. But I think he will help the locker room in that form. This receiving core is, this is their 3rd year, I think, pretty much together as a group. Watson going down definitely hurts. But then, drafting Matthew Golden, which I only think they drafted receiver in the 1st round because they got so much trash about it for the last 20 years that they don't draft 1st-round receivers. And it just happened to be in Green Bay. It was like, guess what we're drafting? I said, stop lying. I was sitting there watching them scratch it. Don't you dare. He was like, for the first time in 20 years, I said, yeah, he did it. I can't believe he did it. So, and maybe it was I'm going out with a bang thing for Murphy because Murphy's no longer the team president. They got a new guy in charge. So, but I'm excited about Golden. Very excited about Golden. I think he could be a lethal threat. But the size kind of worries me, but it's like having two Jaden Reeds, two lightning bolts kind of like going at it out there. But the guy that I'm excited about the most is Savion Williams.
TCU.
Yeah. A lot of people are comparing him to Debo. And it's because of the 6'4" frame. And the Packers love to run that end around. They love to run that end around. And the person that was usually the recipient of that end around was either Jaden Reed or Christian Watson. Watson hurt. He won't be back probably till later in the year, maybe like towards December. And they're trying to get Jaden away from that. With his body, his body size, they want a big physical guy. He ran that a lot at TCU. They did a lot of that at TCU with him. So I'm very excited to see what Savion Williams is going to do in that receiving core. But they're still, to me, just too young. I need a guy, man. Go get me Cooper. He is sitting there. Go get Amari. What are we doing?
Just imagine Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen sitting right there. They can still route you up at the age of 33. What he's sitting out there. So I'm a little like you. Okay, we got two young wide receivers as well. If we need a veteran to put in that room, hey, Keenan Allen knows the AFC West. Hey,
or just bring Coop back. He was beloved. He was beloved and with the Raiders, man. Like, go bring Coop back.
Bring Coop back. But yes, so my question for you, Darrell, that you named Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Romeo Doubs. Is the receiver room a little too crowded? Do you think it's a little too crowded? Because you got Christian Watson, 6'4", track speed. Is there enough bites at the apple for all those guys? Matthew Golden, he's going to come in. He's a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. He's going to want his share of the pie. Christian Watson, I've been down with injuries. I've been nicked up a little bit. Hey, but I know I can ball in this league. And then you got the Wicks and Reed that, hey, we're late rounders. We come in on the scene like gangbusters, and we come in producing for you guys. So do you think there's enough enough pieces of the pie to go around for that receiving core?
And that's the tough thing because Romeo Doubs obviously cried about it last year, which I don't understand. Like, I understand it, man. Him and Jordan have a long relationship. They've been boys for a long time. They used to work out together prior to being Packers. So, I think if they do it right, and usually winning cures all on that, they may not be too much of a problem. But the problem is with Green Bay, no one has really truly come out and snagged that number one spot. Not even Dobbs. No one's coming there and said, this is my team. You guys follow behind me. The only person I ever heard bark like that was Matthew Golden when he said, I promise you, I am here to do this and that. So I'm intrigued to see if he's ready to take the role as that number one guy. Like I said, Watson being down, that does help a little bit. They actually moved Bo Milton to the defensive side of the ball. So he's going to be playing cornerback, I believe, because they knew that, like you said, there was too many receivers in the room. So they offered Milton and said, hey, look, would you be willing to move the corner, keep you on the team? Because, hey, there's so many, like you said, it's too many receivers. Somebody's not going to make this team or be on that roster. So looking at it right now, you got Dobbs, Golden, Reed, Williams, and then Wicks. So you got those five, and then you still got Heath. So you got those six, and that's not even counting Christian Watson, who won't be back until then. But the player out of all of these that has to step up has to be Dontavian Wicks. And I say that because Wicks came into last year with like expectation through the roof. Like I had him as a guy who I thought was going to break out just based off of what he was showing in that first year. And then he started dropping the ball. And, Larry knows that we've seen this guy at UVA and we've seen what he can do in person. It's one of those things that he's a great route runner. And a lot of people say he reminds me of Devontae when he's clicking. So he's got to bring that out of him. And like, if he didn't have those lapses last year, you don't draft Matthew Golden. And he's the one that I think that they were really looking forward for the step up last year, and he didn't. This is a huge, year for Wicks. And yes, I know, Larry, you said 39 and 39, but that first 39 is different than that second 39 because it should have been it should have been way more because of the drops. He had too many drops last year. So, and maybe I'm putting a little bit extra expectation on my guy because he is, from Virginia, and I'm a Wahoo inside my heart. Wahoo inside my heart. So maybe that's why I'm being a little tough on my guy from UVA, but he's got all the potential. He showed it, and he's going to have to step up this year.
76 targets, 39 catches. You can tell right there he was one of the more favorite targets on the team. So you can tell what Jordan wants to do. And then the Packers had the third highest number of drops last season, as you touched on, but I don't think you gave the exact number, 33 drops, and the second highest drop rate. That has got to change.
You can't do that. And what did you say? Top 5 offense.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dropping footballs. You're probably the number 1 offense in the league. You're making crazy mistakes. That's the potential the youngest team in football has. But that's once again goes back to not having enough veterans on the team. Guys that can pull you to the side and say, on the offensive side for sure, and say, hey, look, this, and that, da. That's not happening. That's always been my biggest concern with that offense. Is they're just in the skill positions. They just don't have enough vets. They need those people in those rooms.
I know we touched on the wide receivers. Amon, we discussed the Packers draft earlier this year. Other than the Matthew Golden and the Savion Williams pick, what pick are you more interested in? Is it Anthony Belton, who was selected in the second round? And Darrell, I want you to answer this too. Barron Sorrell, defensive end, selected in the 4th round. Colin Oliver in the 5th round, linebacker. Defensive tackle Warren Brinson in the 6th round. Cornerback Michael Robinson in the 7th, and John Williams, offensive tackle, in the 7th. Which one of these guys are you got your spotlight on?
So I would probably go with Sorrell because one of the Packers' biggest weaknesses in the past of it, has been the defensive line. Even though they did play a little bit better last year, run stopping, bringing that pressure the probably way they needed to. I'm intrigued. The big man from Texas, did some really good things last year. I want to see what he can do in our defense. So he's the one that I'm really intrigued about to see if he can take that next step and really make some things happen.
Yeah, I think I would say the same Barron Sorrell as well. Because if you look at that Texas defensive line, you had Alfred Collins on that line. You got some Anthony Hill that's there now. They got a couple first-round picks that will be coming up in the next couple of years. So it was loaded. And then the year before that, what's my boy that got drafted by the Seahawks in the first round, the defensive tackle?
Don't give me the line.
You know who I'm saying?
That guy. Hey, look like that guy.
It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. He was on that line. He was playing well. Going to the college football playoffs. And yes, he went in the 4th round, but I think there was some great value right there with Barron Sorrell for sure. He can push Van Ness or crack the rotation. I mean, who knows? You never know. You might have Van Ness's replacement, right there in the 4th round. So I agree with you, Darrell. Barron Sorrell, he definitely has a shot to make an impact on his defensive line, his roster as a rookie.
Yeah. Yep. And I also want to give love to Becton too, because them losing their situation on the offensive line has been a little bit risky. Jenkins is he's going to be the center now. Jenkins has always been a guy that they can kind of move all along on the line. Zach Tom is played out of his mind last year and is more likely going to get a big contract one way or the other from the Packers or more. So I'm intrigued to see if Becton can come in because, Rasheed Walker played well for the Packers, but a lot of people think Becton could be, one of those steals that they get. The Packers have always drafted well in the 2nd round. And then that's where they got Jenkins from. He was a 2nd round guy. And I think Becton could be another guy just to give him some love that I think they could make some moves there. So
the guy was Byron Murphy II, by the way. That's
Byron Murphy II.
It was right on tip. I was like, I know this name because it's similar to something else. But yes, Barron Sorrell was on that line with Byron Murphy. So it it was a top 20 talent in that 2024 draft or 2023 or whatever year it was. But yeah, man, it's definitely Baron Sorrell definitely has a chance for sure.
Yeah, Sorrell's my guy for that.
All right, let's go to the roster breakdown. So we already touched on the quarterback room, the running back room. Marshawn Lloyd expected to make a big contribution. Emmanuel Wilson came through with 500-something yards last year. Which do you think this is going to be a good battle for second RB for RB2 between Emmanuel Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd? I know you have some other running backs on the squad, like Amar Johnson, who's also a rookie, Jalen White. You never know about these rookies, and that's why I love about the preseason, because these guys get to go out there and showcase their talent. But you also have Jalen White and Chris Brooks, who was on the team last year. So which one of these running backs are you looking forward to the most that's not Josh Jacobs?
It has to be Lloyd. I mean, look, I remember draft night, and I would think I was watching ESPN, because I usually watch ESPN. Even though I watch NFL Network more now, just to throw that out there, shout out to NFL Network. I just love the way their presentation and everything. Old school ESPN, when the draft time come, I got to hear ding, 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 but that's besides the point. Anyway, but
that's my ringtone.
yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. But with Lloyd, the hype going around Lloyd, and that they say, man, the Packers really got themselves a guy here with Lloyd. Like a lot of people felt like he was the best. He was probably the best back in that draft. But maybe like he could have been the best back coming out of that draft. So I had a lot of expectations, especially after seeing Aaron Jones, not make the greatest duo of all time with Jones and Jones and Jacobs. But I really think that for me, I think Lloyd has to be the one, in my opinion, to really be that backup, that be that guy to kind of give Jacobs the load. But I want to give shout out to Wilson though, because Wilson has had to fight every single year to remain on this team. Like the first year that he had a really good preseason, people were just like, "Oh man, he's got to make the team, right?" He barely makes the team, but he fought so hard in the preseason. He got on. Last year, I don't think he would have made the team if Lloyd got hurt. So Lloyd got hurt, and then Dylan got hurt. So it gave Wilson another chance to say, "Okay." They put him in some roles, and he did well. He wasn't like superb, but he did well. So I don't want to put anything past Emmanuel Wilson, because he is going to fight to stay on that team. He's done it every single year he's been in the league. So I won't put anything past him potentially being the number 2 guy, but I think it's got to be Lloyd at this point. You got to see what you got in the third rounder, and I need to see if the hype is real.
Assuming that the health can stay up to par.
You can stay healthy, yeah, most definitely.
On the offensive line, Rasheed Walker, Zach Tom, Aaron Banks, who was signed 4 years, 77.
Yeah, man. My man got paid.
So definitely talking about investing. Then Sean Ryan, Elgin Jenkins. This definitely one of the best offensive lines in the league. And I think that they can definitely carry that over. And then with Anthony Belton, who was drafted in the second round of I just said it, second round, Donovan Jennings, Jacob Monk, Jordan Morgan, Brent Banks. You got a lot of depth right there with the offensive line. And that's definitely a good thing. Going to the other side of the trenches, we touched on Lucas Van Ness, and then Rashawn Gary behind him, Kingsley, Enigbare, Baron Sorrell, Carl Brooks up the middle, Warren Brinson, and then you got Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt starting. The trenches is deep, don't you think?
Like probably the best has been in a while, and once again they're young. Mine is probably Kenny Clark, and maybe Jenkins has been in the league a little bit now on the offensive side. So I'll start with the offensive side first. I love the Banks move. It wasn't the sexiest move, but it was needed because they knew they were moving Jenkins to the center. They knew that they were going to get that they weren't bringing back. What's my boy name? Oh, the center from last year. I can't even think of his name, but he went to Ohio State. Wells. I don't know why I can't think of whatever. So the center we had last year is no longer there, and so they knew they were going to move Jenkins to center, and to help solidify that they what was it?
Josh
Myers.
Myers. That's right. Oh, Josh Myers. So when they knew Josh Myers was gone, they knew they were gonna move Jenkins over to center because he had played some center a little bit, and I think that's something they kind of wanted to do for a while. So you move him in, you bring the best guard in the free agent class in, and make him, put him and pretty much give him Jenkins spot, which I love. And Sean Ryan didn't play bad last year, so the interior is pretty solid. I said the weakest part of the line would probably be left tackle, in my opinion. Even though Walker played well, so I'm not knocking him, but if that's your weakest part of the line and he played well last year, I will still take that. So for me, that's kind of where I want to see. I kind of want to see how that all kind of how that all kind of plays out there. The person though on the offensive side that they have to step up. You can't be a first round pick and not show up, and that's Jordan Morgan. You drafted him year before last as your first round pick. They want to see something from him. Even though in the past the Packers have not been a strong first round draft pick team. They usually find their gems in the second, third, fourth, and fifth. So I'm hoping that Morgan can step up this year and become the guy that they want him to be, and continue to grow, because I think in my mind they may try to, if they can't sign Zach Tom back, that may be his spot in the future. So if he doesn't show progress, if they put it like this, if he doesn't show progress, they're definitely going to sign Zach Tom back, because they're not going to let him go, knowing that there's some not so balanced things. But if they see progress, don't be surprised if the Packers let him go. On the defensive side, Carl Brooks is a guy who I feel like had some really good moments last year for Green Bay. He came in and did some really good things for them, in relief for Kenny Clark and Wyatt at times, being that rotational guy. I'm expecting him to have a really solid year. I really am. I think that he will continue to kind of grow up there. Even Wooden had a solid year for him as well. But watch out for Carl Brooks. I really think Carl could, kind of, build his resume up a little bit more for that Packers defensive line. Wyatt is a guy that I think he's going to have to kind of stuff. Even though he had a better year last year with the 5 sacks, there was a lot more expectation the year they drafted him and they drafted Craig Walker, especially when you go and look in Philly. Ooh. and you see how well all of those Georgia guys are doing in Philly. And you say, hey, man, we got our own Georgia guys. Hey, what are you guys doing? Huh? So, and look, man, we even let y'all keep the G. We even let you keep the G. So when I look at it like that, I say to myself, for me, those two guys are guys I like, Walker and especially Wyatt. I need them to have monster years. When both of them are in contract years. So you got to have a monster year. This is the time to shine and prove to people that the Packers can go on a little bit further and make that. They were ranked 7th last year in defense, Larry, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Time to move that up a little bit. Yeah, top 5 offense, top 10 defense, and then you get whatever that was in the playoff game against Philly. But I digress. I'm not gonna get upset. I was in Tampa Bay pissed. I'm sitting there watching on the big screen before the game. I'm like, so, I'm trying not to be mad, man. I'm sitting there. I know I'm off topic, but I'm sitting there, and they're showing the game prior to the Buccaneers and Commanders game, and they got on the big screen. Like, we talking about the Super Titantron. I'm like, I'm over here I'm supposed to be focused on the game. I'm hot. I'm like, yo. I said, cut it off. Yeah. I don't want to look at no more, because you watch that game, it's frustrating. They only lost by 10? And if you watch the game, they had multiple chances to win that game. And they just was like, I don't want to be here. What? Yeah. That's what it felt like as a fan. Like, it didn't look like they just didn't show. The only person that showed up, my man Josh Jacobs. Jacobs was working his butt off, and it just wasn't enough. All right, small rant done. I'm sorry, Larry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I had a flashback for a minute. I had a flashback.
I wanted to ask Amon the same question.
What's the question again? Repeat it one more time for me. Because that rant I felt that rant. I felt that rant.
It was about the trenches with the offensive line and the defensive line and which players stand out to you the most.
Yeah, for me, and I'm gonna start on the defensive side of the ball. I'm gonna go with Van Ness, man. Like I don't know what it is about Van Ness with me, but I seen something in him in college. I'm like, okay, he has a motor. Like, let's crank it up, man. Let's. I ain't saying you got to be Aiden Hutchinson type motor or JJ Watt type motor.
Okay.
But you gotta come on, man. You gotta crank it up, man. You were picking the first round for a reason, man. Let's put. It's time to show it. And then, like you said, on the offensive side of the ball in the trenches, man. Got all about Jordan Morgan coming from Arizona as a first round pick a couple years ago. Forgot all about that. I think he was a back end 20, 28, 29, 20 in the back end of the first round.
Yeah, I think he was 28th or something. Because the Packers had made it to the they made it to the I think like 27 or something like that. Yeah,
so they were like in the divisional round and they lost. Maybe I'm not really sure, but yeah, definitely. You open my eyes up about Jordan Morgan. See his development, man, and see like you said earlier, if you can make a move and move him over to the left side, if you don't have to pay Zach Tom, and then that's money that you can free up to go, help another spot of your roster out. But like you said, if you don't see so promise in year 2 or 3, okay, I'm gonna have to spend money on on Zach Tom and cut my losses or try to salvage what you can of Jordan Morgan. Maybe kick him inside. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe kick him inside and save that money, and there may be a pressing need on another side of the ball that you might have to go address. So yeah, I would say Van Ness for me and Jordan Morgan. Because if you can get cheaper at the offensive tackle spot, because the going rate for offensive tackle right now,
she cranking up.
Right now. Side note, we in a contract battle with Colton Miller right now, and he's probably a top 10 tackle in the league, and we drafted 2 tackles in the 3rd round, 98, 99, back to back this year. So hey, if you're gonna pay one, pay him. If not, hey, you got to find somebody that can potentially take their spot and develop and send them on down the road swim for sure. But yeah, those 2 players for me are my 2 standouts as well.
Yeah, and I'll just add this in real quick. Like the Packers have been, over time, like at least as long as I've been an enthusiast or a fan, whatnot. They've always been able to draft offensive line. That's just something that they've been able to do. They've been able to develop. They had John Runyon a couple years ago. He ends up getting a big payday with the Giants, which I'm still mad about because Runyon's a good dude. But that's the thing. Like they've been able to develop offensive linemen. So, and if you can't develop in Green Bay, then that's something wrong with you. I'm just throwing it out there. They've been really good about it. Look at Bakhtiari. He was a 5th rounder. He comes in, makes all that money. The injuries got him. But they've always been able to develop. I mean, the guys that we have go on, like Balaga, he had, he was there for a while, even with the injuries. They sent him to the Chargers. He was never the same. They had my man Wells, the Wells I was talking about. He went to Cleveland, same thing. So the Packers know how to develop him. It's just that, some of them just don't work out. And hopefully he'll work out.
It's just like y'all and quarterbacks. I ain't never seen the Packers are a decent a franchise quarterback my whole life. That's crazy because like I was born in '88, so Brett Favre came on the scene and when like
91.
Yeah,
the Magic Man was there when you were born. Yeah, the Magic Man.
Y'all go from Bart Starr to Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. If that ain't the richest franchise in my life, like you've been blessed, bro. Like if there's one spot in the league, like you said, offensive line and getting franchise quarterbacks, that's something that you guys don't miss on. Which is, I was sitting there thinking to myself, last week and getting ready for the show. I'm like, okay, we got Green Bay on Tuesday. Let me start thinking. And I was like, let me go back a little further before I was born. Okay, Brett Favre. Then you go from Brett Favre. Then you go to Aaron Rodgers. Then to Jordan Love. And I'm like, these mofos and had a franchise quarterback my whole lifetime. And here I am over here going from Rich Gannon in 2002.
Rich Gannon was my dude. Shout out to Rich Gannon real quick, though.
Rich Gannon, Kerry Collins, Terrell Pryor, Jamarcus Russell.
Don't name them all, man. It's going to start hurting your feelings. Don't do this to yourself, Amon. Yeah. Don't do it.
Yeah, anyway, Larry, go ahead with your next topic, brother. Let's go ahead, man. I'm about to,
he about to crash out. Don't do it, Amon.
Be real tight over here for sure. But yes, I will say y'all those two spots, man. I'm amazed, man, how y'all can draft and develop and just strike gold for sure.
Shout out to Jay Quimby, co-founder of the LegacyMaker Sports Network. He's commenting on it. He says, "Go Lions."
Ooh.
Hey man, don't start. Man, cut your phone off, man. Don't start with that. I'm gonna go Lions. Well, hey, look, that's how you feel. Go Falcons. Put it out there right now. Go Falcons.
and I'm really proud of Jay, but even writing this, he says Raiders will pick top 5 again. Hey, I'm not arguing there.
Don't do
that.
Hey,
Amon, close your ear. Close your ears, Amon.
I hope he's a guest on here when we talk about his favorite team.
Tampa Bay.
When the Bucks is up, let's all four get up in here and let's go crazy. Because
Tampa Bay and
I can't talk with my boys like that, man. I got to get crazy with them, man. I bleed this black and silver to the core, man. So it's gonna be on when it comes to Tampa Bay. Them cream sickle uniforms.
And y'all losing to them in the Super Bowl doesn't help either. So.
It doesn't.
That's go next question because I ain't
move it on. Move on.
For sure.
In the linebacker spot, Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, Isaiah McDuffie. When with the addition of Isaiah Simmons and Christian Welch, with Quay Walker especially going into a big year. Edgerrin Cooper had a big year last year.
He did. He really did.
With 87 tackles and 3.5 sacks. How important has, I know he's a rookie, but how important has the emergence of Edgerrin Cooper been, and what are you expecting from him coming into this year?
It's massive because, like I was saying earlier, they had Quay playing middle linebacker, a nice chunk of last year, especially when I think Edgerrin got like a little nicked up. And when he's been on the field, and I believe he came out of Texas, if I'm not mistaken. He's either out of Texas or either Texas Tech or one of the Texas schools.
Cooper?
But, yeah, I think Cooper. And then Cooper come out of Texas A&M. So, coming out of Texas A&M, there's a lot of hype around Cooper. Jay can tell you because, we talked about it a lot. He was very excited about Cooper himself. He was like, Darrell, you got yourself a middle linebacker if he comes to play. And he showed that a little bit last year. So what I'm excited about is if he's healthy, he can run the middle the way he needs to run the middle, and we can put Quay back where he needs to be, and so Quay can thrive. So that's my biggest thing from it, and I'm hoping that will continue. But I'm excited about Cooper. I really do think they found the guy. If he can, and I know we say it a lot, but if he can stay healthy, I think that he could be a really good piece to that team and a young piece. Because for years I've been begging for a middle linebacker, like a guy who can just take over in the middle. And we've had some decent guys. Shout out to Campbell. But some things got a little testy there. And then shout out to my man Blake Martinez. Blake Martinez was top 2 in the league in tackles for a couple years in those rough Packer years before he went out to the Giants. So yeah, I'm excited about Cooper, and I cannot wait to see what he does this year with that linebacker core. And I think Duffy's going to be, like I said, Simmons. Hopper's had some good moments in there as well. So, but yeah, Cooper's the guy for me. Come on, Coop, let's go. Let's go.
Rounding out the corner. Go ahead, Ron.
Go ahead, Larry. No, you go ahead.
Rounding out the cornerback room, the last position, you got Carrington Valentine, Nate Hobbs at the nickelback position, Keyshawn Nixon. Those are your starters right now, according to ESPN. Is there a concern for the cornerback position, considering that you did trade Jair? You released Jair earlier, about last month. So, but it was time. It was time. Is there a concern for the cornerback room?
First, before I get deep into that, I will say about Jair real quick. My man played 10 games in 2 years. You can't be the highest paid cornerback in the league and just not on the field. And I love the guy, love his energy. I love the swag that he brought to the team. And here's the thing. He's probably going to go to Baltimore and play all 16 games and look like an absolute stud for them. And I hope for the best for him. He's one of my favorite guys. I got a picture. The background of my computer right now is a picture I took of him and in the Commanders game one year, and I got it sitting up on the wall on this side. So he'll always be one of my guys. I hope the best for him in Baltimore. Now, I'm excited to see what Nate Hobbs can do. You bring him in. It was like 4 year, $48 million. I think that's what I think they paid him about 12 too. So I'm excited to see if Hobbs can step up and be that guy and take over as the lead cornerback on his team. I think he did some really good work, as Amon said, when he was in Vegas, and so I'm excited to see that. And the Packers usually when they sign guys, especially the last couple of years, they've, knock on wood, have hit on the guys that they sign in free agency. So that's why I'm excited about Banks and I'm excited about Hobbs, because I feel like the talent evaluation on this team, in their front office, I will say, is top notch. It may not always come together where we want on the field, but you can always see the flashes. So excited about Hobbs. Nixon, with all this crying about he don't want to do special teams no more, even though you've been all pro at it for 2 straight years, and you don't want to do it no more. I understand that. So, and you said you want to focus on more on being a cornerback. You better be the best Darrell cornerback I've ever seen. Like, I need you to come out there, and all this talk, I need some improvement on that. So, but the guy, he's made some good plays overall for the team in the last couple of years on the defensive side as well as in special teams. So I'm hoping that it's great, but I will be honest with you, I'm a little bit skeptical. There's no comfort in knowing that we're going to be like completely solid at corner, but I'm hoping for the best. And, I do like Valentine. Valentine's had good moments on the team as well. So I'm hoping for the best, but I'm not going to sit there and act like, oh, yeah, I'm pumped up. I need to see it on the field first before I get too hyped. We've got too many studs in this division. You got a Justin Jefferson. You got, Amon St. Brown. I don't need this man standing up on his head no more in our end zone. I don't need that happening. So until I can see some of that get stopped, and I'm still out. The jury's still out. The jury's still out. No more of that. No more giddy and all that gritty and all that stuff. I need to see that get stopped.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
I think, with me, with Hobbs, Darrell, I'm gonna be honest with you here. We took him in the 4th round, 2020, 2021, 2022, something like that. He's a great slot defender. Slot defender. He's a great blitzer off the edge. I do remember our first preseason game of the year, he got drafted. We played the Seahawks, and me coming in, I'm like, this is Nate Hobbs kid, 4th round. He probably special teams, whatever. And I don't know. I forgot who our coordinator was at the time, but he called a corner blitz off the edge, and he flew in. He blew Geno Smith up. I mean, he blew him. I was like, whoa, what do we have here? And he just continued to develop. But the only thing with Hobbs, he gets injured. He has that like Josh Jacobs effect.
Oh my God!
He gets you. He missed. I want to say 4 or 5 games down the stretch of his last year in Vegas. Mm-hmm. It was at some minor shoulder. It was always something. Like we always say, it's something small, but it always leads to something else. On your body.
It's a nagging thing.
It's a snowball effect, and he just couldn't stay healthy. And I understood why I wanted to resign him, but when Green Bay offering you 4 years, 48, 12 a year, go get your money always, like I said about Josh Jacobs. But on the field, he's going to play hard. He's going to come up. He's going to put his nose, right between your chest. He's going to hit you. He's not afraid to tackle. He's going to blanket your slot corners. He can play a little bit on the outside. I wouldn't want to leave him there full time because you're going against slot guys, and then you have your Jettas and your who else in that division? Whoever.
Amon St. Brown.
And you got your DJ Moores and you got all those on the outside. I wouldn't. Yeah, it's a problem. I wouldn't trust them there full time. Like I said, Green Bay might have seen something that I didn't see or we didn't see. I don't know. Right. But definitely, if you need a solid slot defender, that's your guy. Just pray that he stay healthy for 16, 17 games a year. And as far as Keyshawn Nixon, we had Keyshawn Nixon in Vegas too when we first got there. So I mean, we, like I said before in the earlier show, we do a lot of business with each other. Everybody wants to leave Vegas and go to Green Bay. You want to leave the desert and go to the blizzard. I don't understand it, but
I don't get it neither.
that's where the money at for sure. But Keyshawn Nixon, like you say, he want to focus on full-time corner. Like you say, he better be the best corner whatever he can be, because his role was defined day one when he entered the league. You're going to be a special teams guy, punt returner, kick returner. Now, I haven't kept up with his game since he left Vegas. Maybe he's improved as a corner or whatever the case may be. I don't know. We will see. But I do think he can give you some solid depth there. And if he's asked to start, that may be a little spooky. If you ask him to start at one of your other outside corners, that it can get a little spooky. I'm expecting, losing Jair, that's a big guy. What you said, 10 games in the last 2 years, you want to be the highest paid corner in the league. Math ain't math, and somewhere you're going to have to do something financially. It had to make sense for you to still be there, and what he was getting paid, which was maybe 20.
I think he was getting paid. The original contract was 4 years, 84, I think.
Like 20, so, 23, 24, something like that a year. Around that. And you don't get played 10 games in 2 years. Nah, man, we got to cut our losses, man. So I can see you guys easily going out and making another deal, get another signing. Like I said, me and Larry said yesterday, Gilmore's still out there as solid.
Go get him.
We were talking about with the Vikings, Gilmore's out there. You can get him. There's a couple other guys out there. I'm blanking right now, but yeah, I can definitely see you guys making another move, add another corner to the room, corner or two. I knew you guys lost Eric Stokes to us. We did swapping corners out here, 1 year deal. He was 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, 6'1", 6'2". He was a first round pick.
Yeah, 4'3", 4'2", 4'3" guy. I don't know why it didn't work out in Green Bay. You can elaborate that on a little more.
Yeah,
maybe injuries, I'm not sure, but I can definitely, like I said, I can definitely see you guys going back and double dipping in the corner, maybe in free agency, or somebody get cut in camp and you just need somebody to some depth in the room. So I can see that happening for you guys.
Yeah, well, real quick on Stokes. So Stokes' first year, great year. It was like, okay, they've got something going. Then he got hurt, and he didn't play that second year, and then he didn't play most of the third year. And it wasn't until like late in the third year when he came back, and then he played last year, but he just didn't seem to have what he had in that first year. So he's a guy that still has potential. Like he's you can see the talents there. It's just who can bring it out of him and if he can stay healthy.
Absolutely.
Evan Williams is another guy. You drafted him in 2024. He played 13 games. He started 6. He had 47 tackles and an interception to cap off the year. Xavier McKinney. We already talked about him. How big is this Evan Williams coming in? How big of a year is this for him to come in and make a big contribution?
Look, Evan Williams came and played really well last year. I was a little skeptical after losing Savage. I was like, well, what are they going to do losing Savage to Jacksonville? And Savage had that big interception in the playoff game against Dallas, and he had a solid time in Green Bay. So when they let him go, I was like, okay, well, what's going to be the move? But I got to give a shout out to Evan Williams because he really did step up last year, and he had a really good year for Green Bay. So I'm very excited on what he can do here. And I guess this is year 2, but year 3. I'm very excited to see what he can do this year, and I think that we've got a pretty solid combo with him and McKinney. And McKinney, he's everything that I wanted at the safety position. Like yes, the interceptions are nice, but if you watch the way he communicates with the team, like on and off the field, like he's a defensive leader. He's a team leader overall. And just having that guy, and the guy's 25, 26. He's a young guy. Like he signed that lengthy contract with the team, so he's going to be a stalwart from the team for a while. So I'm very excited about the safety room. Oladipo had some really good, decent moments here and there last year. Anderson, it was every now and then, but Williams, Oladipo, and McKinney, I'm excited about the three of them. Definitely excited about McKinney. That's my dude. Like he was balling last year. I'm hoping for some more this year.
One more. What about how do you feel about Javon Butler?
You said Javon Butler?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know a lot about Butler at the current time.
Bullard.
I haven't had Oh, Bullard, Javon Bullard. Oh, Javon Bullard. Now Bullard. Now drafted him last year, and I'll give another shout out to Jay here. Jay talked about him last year. He said, Darrell, you guys got to steal out of Bullard. And Bullard had a really good year last year. I felt like when he was going, I'm like, okay, so you got Bullard, you got McKinney, and now you got two guys that that can kind of do their thing. Now, Bullard coming from Alabama. Oh no, wait a minute, no. He came from Georgia. Georgia. Another Georgia guy, another G. We exchanged the G. So I was very excited about having Bullet, and then I thought he played well last year. He's a hard hitter, and he's another guy that I can't wait to see kind of develop to see if he can take that next step. I think he could probably overtake Williams as a starter on that team, in one of those safety spots. But like I said, Williams did play really well last year, so Bullet's still, it's definitely gonna be in that rotation. But I don't know if he can overcome him just yet.
All right, let's go to the schedule.
Oh yeah. Oh Lord, the schedule.
So, week 1, you got Detroit, and these guys swept you last year. So, what better way to start the season off than playing your division rival? Who I don't know if you play them on Thanksgiving. We'll find out in a minute.
I can't remember.
But then you had Detroit at home, Commanders on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, man. I'm excited about that one. One way or the other. Pumped up. Your boys pumped about that one, but that's besides the point.
You're at the Browns on week 3, so who knows who their quarterback is going to be?
True.
But you see Myles Garrett, and then you're at Dallas, aka y'all's house.
we kind of own the stadium there. It's a little rough for them.
That's on Sunday Night Football. You got an early bye in week 5, which I'm not a fan of early buys.
Nah, me either.
But, I hate early buys, man. I hate them.
Week 5, you are back at home against Cincinnati. So you see Joe Burrow. The next week after that, week 7, you playing at Arizona. Then you're at the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers time, baby.
Aaron Rodgers time. It's happening, y'all. This is not a drill. This is not a drill.
Week 9, you're at home against Carolina, and then you have Monday Night Football against the Eagles. After that, week 11, you're at home. Well, you're at the New York Giants, and then you face the Vikings for the first time in week 12. Week 13, you do play the Lions at the Lions, so that's going to be a Thanksgiving treat. Probably had to eat early for that one.
A little bit.
Week 14, you're at home against the Bears, at the Broncos.
That's a win. That's a landslide win for the Packers.
Week 15, and Darrell, you remember last time.
No, I don't want to talk about it.
Jordan Love.
I want to talk about it, man. Hey, it ain't no landslide victory, man. Look, that Broncos team, that defensively too. Look, I'm not putting anything past that team. That's a good young football team right there. So two really good football teams, 2 young football teams going at it. It's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I mean, when your quarterback got about 60, 70 starts in college, man, you expect him to be.
Hey, bro, yo.
I mean,
my man is a vet.
He's been playing pro ball since he was 18. So he's been in college about 6 years. So he should be.
Oh, that's funny.
Go ahead, Mr. Bronco.
And then the final 2 games, you're at Chicago, and then you're at Chicago, then you face the Ravens in week 17, and then you cap off the year at Minnesota. How do you feel about this schedule right here? Because it seems like a tough one.
Oh, it's tough. It's tough. I'll go through it real quick. So Lions, I'm glad the game is at home, but the Lions have had the Packers number since Aaron Rodgers' last game there. So Aaron Rodgers' last game, which they had a chance to get in the playoffs if they beat Detroit, and Detroit's had their numbers since then. They beat them twice that year. I think Green Bay snuck them on Thanksgiving year before last, but 5 out of their last 6 have went to Detroit. And my whole life, we dominated Detroit. Since I've been a Packers fan when I was 6, 7 years old, I just if there was a guaranteed win, it was the Detroit Lions. That ain't the case no more. This is a good test for the Packers at the beginning of the season. They need that win. I know a lot of people say, oh, they can lose that one. No. Can't start off back-to-back years with losses. You got to get things going. Because in the next week when you facing Jaden Daniels, which the series between the Packers and the Commanders are always weird, but it's the home team has usually won these games. maybe except for that one playoff game where the Packers beat Kirk Cousins. But the home team usually wins this game. The Packers have not had a good track record against the Commanders/Redskins here in the last 5 or 6 years. Like, it's always the home team. So thank goodness they're at home in this one. Cleveland is a toss-up. Well, Cleveland's the one I feel confident. They should be Cleveland because you really don't know what the quarterback situation is there. Dallas is another one, but I won't put anything past Dallas only because I think a lot of people are sleeping on Dallas this year. I think they did low-key get better, and no one's talking about them, which is a good thing for them. It's either Commanders or Eagles. No one's talking about Dallas winning the division unless you are part of DCLFL. There's only people talking about Dallas winning the Super Bowl. So, but on the analyst front, nobody's talking about it. So this could be a good year for Dallas. Got to watch out for them. The Bengals game, I think the Packers can win only because the Bengals defense is trash. And if it's going to be a shootout, and I had to go, you're going shootout for shootout. Yes, they got Jamar Chase, they got Tate Higgins. But if I had to go shootout for shootout, I trust our defense over that. I'd pick Green Bay in that one. The Cardinals and the Packers, they played last year. Packers won that game pretty decently. This one goes to Arizona. The Cardinals are still a tricky team. I won't put anything past Kyler Murray, but I think the Packers can win that one. I think Aaron is going to win the game against Pittsburgh. Aaron's going to win that game against the Packers. I hate to say it.
I want to shout out Rob Johnson real quick. He made a prediction: Arizona going to the Super Bowl. I don't know how that's going to look, but you know Rob. Rob.
Gotta love Rob, baby. Shout out to Rob. Hey, shout out to Rob, man. Y'all make sure y'all go watch the Rob Johnson Sports Show when you get a chance. But I will say this. Arizona could be sneaky. They did play well like towards the end of the season last year, so you never know. But I never put anything past anybody. I think the Packers are going to lose that Pittsburgh game, unfortunately. The Panthers are going to be sneaky, but a little bit better this year than a lot of people expect to. I'm not saying that they're going to win like 12, 13 games, but I thought last year they had a chance and they played well towards the end of the season. If they can keep Bryce Young being as confident as he started to look towards the end of the season, that's a problem. So you can't look past them, but also a game I think they can win. The Eagles game, boy, I want that one, but I know better. The Giants game, the Giants are another team that they play weird against them. The last time they played them in London and they beat them. Like the Giants beat them in London. I'm like, what is that? But they play weird against them. So and then they beat them in Jordan Love's first year in New York in that last second game. So I won't put anything past them, but they should beat them. Plus Russell Wilson is on that side. The Vikings game, I think they'll split those games this year. So whatever one it is, they'll split that. I think they'll split with the Lions as well, hopefully. The Bears, they better sweep them. That's all I got to say about that. The Broncos game is tricky too because the Broncos are another one of those teams that the Packers play weird. So I think they can win it, but with it being in Denver, I low-key will say that. I'm not just saying this because the host is here, but that's a game that I am concerned about because the last time we played them in Denver, you saw what happened, Larry, just like I saw what happened.
Wait a minute, I thought that game was in Lambeau.
Was it in Lambeau?
Yeah,
because you come Lambeau. Yeah. You know what? It wasn't Lambeau. It wasn't Lambeau. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't Lambeau. Now that I think about it. But still, I don't need him to be that Jordan Love in that game. So we play you guys weird. And then there's the Ravens and the Vikings. That Vikings-Packers game could have a lot of playoff implications when we get to that time. So that's a toss-up one for me. And the Ravens, thank God it's in Green Bay. That's all I can say. Because if it was in Baltimore, I don't think they win that game. I don't even know if they win that game being in Green Bay, especially, the Packers kryptonite, running quarterbacks. Running quarterbacks has been, go back and look at Colin Kaepernick. They just don't do well against running quarterbacks. So that has me concerned.
Okay, Amon.
Yeah, man. I'm looking at the schedule right now as you went through the whole schedule, man. Hey, man, listen. The NFC North, everybody's going to be fighting for a spot, man. So it can be like me and Larry were talking about with the Vikings episode yesterday or whatever episode it was. Everybody will be beating each other up in that division, because, Chicago's got better. Caleb going in year 2, he has Ben Johnson, which I'm not, I'm not very high on Ben Johnson being a head coach. That's just me. It's one thing to be an OC when you running this one side of the ball, but when you're responsible for a whole team, that's another whole story.
Mm-hmm.
So the jury's still out on Ben Johnson for sure as a head coach. But then you have, the Vikings. They're going to, they don't have Kirk. I mean, not Kirk, but my boy Sam no more. They're going in with JJ now, and with that offensive weaponry they have in Minnesota. And then you guys, with Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, their plethora of receivers you guys have. The NFC North, man. Like you said, it was three in the playoffs last year.
Mm-hmm.
It can easily be three this year, and the season could easily be the other way around. Packers had a 1 seed, Vikings had whatever the case may be.
Yep.
So yeah, man, it's a tough schedule, and like I say, the last couple of games of the year, the Ravens, are they going to be playing for something? Do they have the division sold up? Is Lamar going to be playing? So that could be another win for you guys to help you guys get into the playoffs or, get you a higher seed. The Broncos, yes, my boy is a Broncos fan, but the Broncos defense is always going to be a tough one, whether you're playing in Mile High or they're coming to you.
Right.
The Giants with Russell, with Mr. Unlimited, yes, they may be. Is Jackson Dart going to be playing by then? Are they going to be terrible enough to where the organization want to say, hey, Russ, thank you for your service. Hey, Dabo want to see what we got with the kid here. We drafted him in the first round. Let's see what we got. The Eagles going to be the Eagles. Like you said about Bryce Young, hey, if they can keep his confidence going, get surrounding him with more weapons. He got Xavier Legette last year in the first round. He got Tetairoa McMillan this year. Yes, my boy, I want to say my boy Jonathan Brooks, the running back, towards ACL again last year.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
He won't be there this year, but they did pay Chuba Hubbard, so he's a serviceable running back for them. And, we'll want to see my boy, what's the defensive tackle name that came? I can't think of his name. I'm drawing a blank on their defense, but he got paid. It'll come back to me in a second, but their defense will be a little better. They signed Trayvon Merrick from us. They gave him a nice 3-year, $61 million contract. So they're going to be better. And, J.C. Horn got that $100 million contract last offseason. Mm-hmm. So they're going to – yeah, I know how you feel about that, but we'll discuss that for another day. How you feel about that, Larry? But, they're going to be a better football team year 2, year 3 under Dave Canales. They're going to be a better football team. And then, you got the Packers and Steelers. That's two cornerstone franchises in the NFL, and it's only fitting that the league put them on Sunday night, 8:20, to draw all eyes. Aaron Rodgers got his former team coming into town to play you in potentially your last year, your last hurrah in the NFL. So that's going to be a good one. Like you said about the Cardinals, hey, it's Kyler Murray. It's year, 8, 9 for him. He is what he is now.
The league for a minute now.
He's been a while. Yeah, this is year 7, 8, because Mahomes came out in 17, Kyler came out in 19. So it's year 7, year 8 for him. Wow. He is what he is, but the Cardinals, they're so Jekyll and Hyde, they can punch you in the mouth, blow you out one week, and come back and look sad versus whoever.
Yeah, they showed that against Buffalo last year.
Exactly.
they was like, whoa, look, what is this team? And then all of a sudden,
exactly. What are we doing here? And then we go lay an egg to whoever.
It was the Commanders. They got beat up by the Commanders the next week.
Exactly.
It was like
they got Joe Burrow. Like you said, that defense. Larry will tell you, man. I think the defense is terrible. I don't know what they're doing with Trey Henderson. Like, I don't know. He got Shamar Stewart. He got camp coming up in a couple of weeks, and he ain't signed.
They haven't signed him yet, right?
They ain't put no ink to no paper or nothing yet. So, like, what are we doing? But Mike Brown, he runs his organization how he want to put some new language in somebody's contract that you ain't put in there for everybody else. But that's here nor there. Like you said about the Cowboys, Cowboys faithful, they're going to have hope. They're going to be a lot better with Pickens and CD. We just hope Keyshawn Nixon and Nate Hobbs ain't the two corners out there lined up.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to be a long one. That'll be a long. That'll be a boy. If you got if Keyshawn Nixon and my boy Nate Hobbs out there as your 1 and 2, hey, let me trade for CD and Pickens in fantasy that week before, because it's about to be up for sure.
It's time to feast.
It's gonna be up. The Packers and Browns, like Larry said, you got Myles Garrett. We don't know who the quarterback can be. Heck, they're trying to send Shador to the CFL. They got him on the list to go to the CFL, which is crazy. So yes, that's wow. So we don't know the quarterback situation.
CFL list is crazy.
Yes, that's crazy. Then you got the Commanders and Packers. That's Jaden year 2. How he's going to fare. I think the Packers will be all right in that one. Then, like I said, the division games start out week 1. You want to put your best foot forward. Hey, Dan Campbell coming in without his 2 OC and DC. They went on and got head coaching jobs. Let these new guys come in and run their shows, which is not going to be that much different like we spoke yesterday, Larry, about what they ran last year. But you got Dan Campbell with something to prove, and Lions feel like they got slighted last year. Didn't make it as far as they wanted to. Jared Goff, being Jared Goff, he's going to take you to the promised land. So he's going to have something to prove. But overall, man, this schedule, it's going to be a toughie, man. And I know, Larry, I don't know if we're going to have win predictions and stuff in our next block, but I definitely see them with a double-digit number. But I'm not going to say yet if that's in our next block, Larry.
Oof.
We're not gonna go projections, win projections just yet, but we are gonna go to more or less.
Ooh, here we go.
All right, so more or less, then Darrell, we take 5 players from last year, and we determine. I'll read off their stats and determine whether they'll have more or whether they have less this coming year.
Okay.
So you ready?
Yep.
All right. So Jordan Love in the touchdown category, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Does he have more or less than that this year?
I will say I'm gonna say more touchdowns and less interceptions. I don't think it'll be less interceptions by a ton. So I'll say about maybe 8, maybe 7 or 8 in the interception department. But I think he goes 30 plus in the touchdown range.
Okay.
Ooh, 30 plus. Yeah, I definitely see Jordan Love having 30 plus in the touchdown category for sure because he's that talented. Everybody saw it coming out of Utah State. Apparently, somebody in the Packers front office saw it too, coming out. So to take him and rub Aaron Rodgers, ruffle his feathers a little bit that year. So yeah, I think he's due for 35, 37.
Yeah, I'll take that.
About 12, 13 picks. So that's me. That's me personally.
Not the picks, but I'll take the touchdowns.
I'll take over 30 as well. Jaden Reed, 55 catches, 857 yards, 6 touchdowns. In the receiving yards category, does he crack over 857 or under?
I think catches wise, I think he may get a little bit over it because I still think they're going to be spreading the ball around a lot. So I say maybe he gets 60, 61, 62. I don't think it's going to be more than that. It'd be great. I'll take it, but I know. Oh, you said more. What was the yardage again?
857 on the yards. Considering that you got the other receivers coming in, with the Goldens and the Savions coming in, and
I'm gonna say less, but maybe not by a lot. Maybe about 801. 808. I think it's gonna be less because I think they're gonna really target Golden a lot this year. So they're gonna try to go to work. They're gonna have the speed demons on the outside. But yeah, I'll say more, but less, but not by a lot.
Okay, Amon.
Yeah, I'm gonna say less only because that room is so crowded. And let's just say they go get your Coop or your Keenan Allen. Them boys gonna want the ball. They can take you places. So I'm gonna say less for sure in both categories.
Tucker Crabb, 50 catches, 707 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Coming in a big year this year. Is it over or under 707?
Over. I think over on both. I'll be honest with you. He might lead the team in receptions this year. He might. Because
he had 70 targets last year.
I'm telling you now. I think that he started to really warm up to him. Do not be surprised if he leads his team in receptions this year. I'm not gonna say he gets 1,000 yards, but yeah, I don't know. He might creep on up there. I think he goes over both. I think he goes over on both. I don't know the number yet, but I think I'm gonna go over on both.
All right.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm gonna trust your word. You're Packer enthusiast. I'm gonna trust your word. I'm gonna say,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
if you with Musgrave there, former Oregon State legend, if he's taking over and he has the potential to be a Kittle type ish player, I mean, why not, man? Why not? Say over the 70 catches. So yeah, man, I'm gonna go with you on that one, man. I'm gonna agree with you.
Yeah, those receivers ain't catching the ball. Somebody got to catch it.
Somebody got to catch that.
And Kraft don't catch the football. So yeah, I'm gonna go there.
Devontae Wyatt, 362 snaps last year. He played 14 games. He had 5 sacks. Does he have over or under 5 sacks?
I think it's even. I think he goes with 5 again. I think if it's not even, it's maybe 4. I don't know if he's going to get over or not. I still haven't seen the dog in him that I need to see, that I want to see. So I'm gonna go either even at 5 or 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna say over. I'm gonna say over because, like you said, there was probably a contract year for him. Got something to prove. Former Georgia guy, and they play hard. They play hard. They have motors. Like, I don't know what happened, man. Like Devontae Wyatt, Skip, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. Like what in the world? Like where did they come from? But yeah, been in the contract year. Want to get that security. So I'm gonna say he go over maybe 7. That might be a little too rich. They may be a little too rich. You would know more than I do. But I'm gonna say 7 just because he want to get paid and on security.
The potential's there though. I can see the 7, but yeah, we shall see.
Yeah.
And Xavier McKinney, 88 touchdowns, 88 tackles.
Over. No, I'm just give it to them all, baby. Let's go.
88 tackles for Xavier McKinney, and he had 8 interceptions. Does he go over or under 8 interceptions this year?
It's tough. I don't want to say over bad, but getting 8 interceptions in a year is tough. And it's hard to do it back to back. Yeah, it's hard to do it consistently. So I'm gonna say under an interceptions, but I still think he gets like 5 or 6. I think he'll still be, a threat. People are gonna try to, not be throwing his direction as much. So I'll say that. And on the tackles, I think he goes over on the tackles. I think he'll probably get about like 93. About 93.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with the interceptions. I'm gonna say less. I'm gonna say about 4 or 5. Just because, man, getting 8 interceptions and our boy Kirby Joseph in Detroit had how many last?
Yeah,
9.
Yeah.
It's hard, man.
It's
hard because they're going. They got a plan for that. This fool had 9 interceptions last year. Let's do something, not throw the ball his way or Xavier McKinney way. Let's game plan around those guys. So they have their report on you now. Hey, don't throw the ball this way. So it's gonna make it a lot tougher for both of those guys, especially for Xavier McKinney. But the tackles, I think it's gonna be even round tackles. You know what I mean? What was his number, Larry, in tackles?
88.
Yeah, I'm gonna say right around there, if not maybe a tick below, just because they're gonna try to stay away from him as much as possible. Because he could potential ball hawk, So I'm gonna say about 5 or 6 picks, maybe 4 or 5, 6 picks, and maybe a little notch under 70, 75, 80 tackles for sure.
I can deal with that.
It's still a good season for a safety. So regardless, so
absolutely. All right. So the final question: what are your expectations for the Packers this year, Darrell?
Whew. Lord, man, it's a loaded question, Larry. I don't know why you throw these loaded tough questions at a brother.
What do you think happens?
So there's a part of me that thinks I'm going to take the fan out of it. I think, and maybe I'll just go on individuals. I think Jordan has a better year than last year for sure. Maybe an MVP season, potentially. I'm not going to say that he's the MVP of the league, but I think he could have numbers that have people thinking like, man, look at this Jordan Love guy. Like I think they'll have if he stays healthy, what they said that first time around, like, man, Jordan's playing really well. He's got potential. I think this could be the year that unleashes potentially. I think Jacobs takes a small step back, but not in a bad way. I think it's more of just them trying to protect him and not abuse him in this next year. And so I think that'll be the case. I think the tight ends will thrive. I think the tight ends will thrive. I think the offensive line will thrive. Defensively, corners, I'm still a little shaky. I think the linebackers will have a solid year. I think the defensive line will have a solid year. Overall, as a team, I think the defense will probably stick around in the top 10. But I don't know if they're like, they're maybe like 10 this year overall. Offensively, they definitely have the potential to be number 1, number 2, number 3. Like they could go higher. It's all about catching the football. It's all about like making those plays that he's giving, because there was a lot of plays like he hitting them in the hands, and it's like, nope, I don't want it. and that really, I think, attributed to him struggling last year, because he started to have trust issues. I think maybe a little bit with those guys. And that's when you hear a guy like Jacob screaming, "Hey man, we're gonna bring Devontae back." Like he was really rallying to try to get Devontae back in Green Bay, which I was hoping that Jacobs had some type of magical powers to make it happen, but it just didn't. I was praying. I'm like, man, come on, Jacobs. I know you got something in there you can pull out of your hat. But yeah, I think my expectations overall, as a person, I want to see them go further, obviously, but I need to see those small mistakes that they were making in these last 2 years, the youth mistakes, they have to go out the window. You cannot make those youthful mistakes with a team that's been together now, about 2 or 3 years together now. They know each other well. Obviously they have new people, but I can't have that. So my expectations is to continue to get better. Yes, I would love to go to the Super Bowl, but that's not. I've seen the schedule, and I know there's some teams that are better than Green Bay in the league right now. But my biggest thing is make progress, get to an NFC Championship game. That will be my goal. And then maybe the next year's Super Bowl in my mind. But you got to win a playoff game. And if you got to make noise. If you don't win the next one, you got to make some noise in there. But yeah, I think that's my field this year. Definitely make the playoffs, beat Chicago twice, split with the other two. Split with the other two, and then just, heck, if they can beat the Vikings twice, I'll be happy with that, because I hate them suckers. But yeah, I think that's what I feel this year. Those are my expectations for the Packers this year.
All right, Amon, you got anything you want to touch on as far as expectations?
Man, as far as expectations, man, I just like you said, taking a fan out of the game. Well, I know you're a Packers guy, but I'm a Raiders guy, and like I said, whether my boys stay with us or go to other organizations, man, I always want to see them stay healthy, stay well, stay producing, stay being good, good model citizens in the league, man. I know Josh Jacobs, man, he's a good guy, hard work, and we'll give you everything he has. Same thing with my boy Nate Hobbs, man. When he's on the field, he's ready to go, man. I just want my guys to stay healthy and see if the Packers can push the Lions and Vikings. At least, give them, hey, I know it was sweet last year. It wasn't sweet last year, but them 15 games y'all won Detroit, we getting a couple of those back.
They not winning 15 games this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. So there's a little crack for the Packers to win a division and get you a home game and in the playoffs, and then hey, you never know what may happen once you get inside the dance, because like everybody says, hey man, I just want a ticket to the dance, man. Once I get in the dance, anything
you can go from there. Yep, you
can go from there. So yeah, I just want my expectation for the Packers is Jordan Love to keep balling out, Josh Jacobs keep balling out, Van Ness, man. I don't know why that player, he sticks with me, man. I just want to see. I don't know why, man. I think it's a good college player. I want him to continue to progress. See my boy Rashawn Gary to turn up another level, which I know he can, and see what that secondary room looks like and how it shapes out, throughout the season. Are they going to make any additions? Are they going to go out and say, hey, we content with what we have right here. Do we pull somebody from the practice squad? There's so many routes and avenues that the Packers can go, but I expect them to be in the playoffs as a wild card, if not winning division, and probably win a game or two. And like I said, once you get a tournament, anything's possible for sure.
True that.
I think they're hungry to win the division too, because they haven't won a division since 2021. So
it's crazy. It feels weird.
Matt LaFleur, first 3 seasons, he was 39-10. The last 3 seasons, 28-23. He's got to be on the hot seat, I think.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I think that's something that could be, especially with new president in town. The new president started, I think, July the 1st.
Yes.
The Packers have a rule that when you get a certain age, you can no longer be president of the team. Ageism, you call it whatever you want. Murphy's been the president of the team for a long time. And so the guy that's taken over, I think it's Polonese. It's almost like policy, almost like the guy from San Francisco last name. So he's taken over as the new president, youthful guy. And so he may not want that route. They cannot regress this year, because then he will be on the hot seat, in my opinion, if they regress this year. They have to continue to show that they're improving, or he could be gone. He could be gone.
Yeah, I put, like I said, I think, back to what you were saying about the president, I think Mark Murphy was 70.
Yeah, I think he's 70 now.
70, and that was it. And so, like, I put LaFleur in the Stefanski bucket, if that makes sense. It's like
it does.
I put him in that bucket. It's like, okay, you're good enough as a head coach to keep keeping you here,
right?
But you're not bad enough for us to get rid of you, if that makes sense. Like, like it's like you're stuck in limbo. Like if if the Browns lose Stefanski, you know where they're going. You know what I'm saying? They will have no direction. He kept that franchise afloat. Heck, he took. Well, was it rookie Baker Mayfield?
He took him to the playoffs twice.
Yeah.
They haven't made the playoffs at all until he got there.
So he took him to the playoffs, and then you get to the playoffs with Grandpa Flacco to be sitting on the couch with us. It's like you be like, you dang if you do, dang if you don't. So I put LaFleur in that bucket, but Larry, like you say, he may be on a hot seat this year, but I promise you, if they do let him go, he won't be on the street but about 2-3 seconds. And
he's a great offensive mind.
Yeah.
My only thing with him, I feel like sometimes he's not tough enough. He's made some sketchy play. Like that year that the Packers played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game, some of his play calling was a little bit, and I'm just like, you're a better play caller than that. And I mean, maybe parts of that because Aaron Rodgers is in the mix, but I always felt like now that it's him and Jordan Love, your guys are kind of connected, even though there's some slips in there. If when we've seen Jordan improve, here and there and what he can be, this is a very critical year for that relationship, because if they digress in any way, then you will start to hear the rumbles. You will start to hear the rumbles. So they got to come to play. I love Matt, but he can be a little soft from time to time. Come on, man. He can be a little soft from time to time. Need you step up, man. Yell at those guys or something. Come on. He'll a player coach. They love him as a coach. So I can't,
can't hate on him for that.
Yeah, can't hate on him for that. That goes a long way.
Well, Darrell, appreciate you.
No problem, brother.
In almost 2 hours. We at 142 right now.
Yeah, dude, I didn't even. I peeked at it, but I was like, we just rolling right now. I didn't even think about it that much.
But for everybody out there, if you haven't seen Darrell, he's started the one-on-one segment. The new season of the one-on-one. Got Michael Robinson.
Yes,
it's the first interview. Great interview. Everybody go check that out.
Thank you, sir.
Darrell. You also got Legacy on Fire that you do. When is the next episode?
We're doing one Thursday, so we'll have one on Thursday. Might have to get you guys on there, especially when it comes to talking AFC West. So look out for the invitation. I
will be there for sure. I ain't gonna let nobody dog my boys out. I'm gonna come with my jersey on. My hat. I'm gonna have my blanket. I'm gonna be ready to roll. So
anyway, we're talking. I think we're talking NFC East and AFC East this week. So when we do the West, I'm gonna be knocking on the door, giving you guys a call so we can make that happen. But it'll be when we do it, it'll be AFC West and NFC West together. So I'll just be on the lookout for it.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. We will do, man. Like I said, thank you for joining us, Amon. Thank you as well. Any final thoughts from you, brother?
Nah, man, it was just a treat, man. I've been hearing about you for a while from my boy Larry. Me and my boy Larry, we grew up together. Went to the same high school. He's an Orange Crush guy. I'm a Raider guy. So when you got that mixed together, boy, when you got that mixed together, you might have to come across the table on Larry once or twice a year. But I know it's all love, man. It's mutual respect, man. And like I said, I'm glad to meet you.
It's a pleasure, brother. Same here.
part of the family, man. I feel like we can chop it up anytime. So you're more than welcome to come back whenever you're ready. I'm pretty sure me and Larry will game plan something for you.
Always.
Let's talk ball and just do what we do best, do what we love for sure. So
yeah, most definitely. Hey, look, man. Look, y'all. Let me ask you this before y'all run. But do y'all watch the game together?
Absolutely not.
I'm about to say. There's no way y'all watching that game together. No. There's no way.
I'm gonna tell you something. Right now, because when Minshew threw that pick 6 to 13 last year and he took it back 100 yards, I blocked him on everything. I did not answer nothing the rest of I hit him up that Monday. I was like, all right, you got me for sure.
All right, but you got to give me some time, man. Like, ain't nothing worse like somebody hitting you up after something bad happened. Like, look, give me like 3 days.
So I think soon as 13 crossed the end zone, my phone went bing, and I was like, yo, I want that's like this. I don't even have time for this. Like, you got it, brother. I'm gonna let you have you ain't beat us since I always talk trash to Larry. I'm gonna get about him. We've been on here for a while. I was like, Larry, y'all swept us last year. I said the last time y'all beat us, we had, I think Donald Trump was on his first stint. So that was like 2016.
It was 2019, right?
Yeah, I think 2016, like 2020, y'all didn't beat us. So Trump was in office the second go around. So I mean, that's a long time.
What a terrible time.
Real.
Hey, that's how we was. Hey, look. Hey, the last time the Bears beat us, Obama was in office. So
that's for sure.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Darrell, again. And tomorrow we'll be having the Bears on Showcase. So we'll come to you probably about 5 or 6 o'clock. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. We got 10 likes. 10 likes.
Hey, that's a win.
And everybody continue to keep liking, keep sharing, subscribing, share, on Darrell's on his legacy on fire, on his one-on-ones and everything. Thank you once again, and thank you for the support for all over the years, man. Until then, everybody, good night.